The cosmetics industry is worth about $400 billion as of the time of this video. An industry that sells all forms of enhancement as a way to feel more confident is just one of the many avenues that show the level of insecurity and loneliness that characterizes the lives of many young people today. Over the past 20 years, this industry has annually grown by 4.5%. Although this video is not about the industry or an attack on it, our society might need to consider why creams, tablets, and surgical procedures have become the answer that millions of people are turning to in their quest to feel better. Is there a chance that, beyond the need to look beautiful or more confident, there is an underlying feeling of insecurity and loneliness? Insecurity stems from a feeling of inner inadequacy. More often than not, these feelings are not true, but they are forced on us by society. An insecure person measures himself with an ideal and perfect picture. He believes in absolutes. He should be rich, powerful, or famous. No questions asked. The problem with this way of thinking is that it removes the beauty of growth and the lessons that should be learned from growing. Man is a goal-based being. His best is seen when he is making progress towards some goal, when you insist that you should be at the perfect spot or assume that you are there already. You stop yourself from improving. Psychologists usually refer to the underdog psychology in sports. When champions meet the smaller, unknown teams, the chances of being defeated by these underdogs exist. Because while the champions are only interested in defending what they have acquired, the underdogs are going all out to secure or get to a goal that they have never attained. This means that they go into the game with all of their might, strategies, and zest. The assumption that we have attained some grand goal, perfect body, perfect business, or life, is more often than not a recipe for disaster. The repercussions are dire. If you know anything about rivers and ponds, the river hardly ever retains algae because its continuous flowing motion doesn't give it the privilege of housing algae. Ponds, however, are stagnant, retain algae, and a lot of other things that find comfort in their stagnation, and in most cases, they stink. A rolling stone gathers no moss, they say. How do you deal with insecurity? The simple answer to that is to get off the pinnacle of your success. As long as you are alive, there will always be someone with a more acceptable face, a more successful business, a greater home, and so on. Instead of feeling bad that you're yet to attain these beautiful goals, set them as your next targets, if feasible, and where they are not, realize that you also have some advantages that these other people do not enjoy. You must always remain in the boxing ring of life. Every boxing champion who enters the ring as a defending champion stands the risk of being knocked out. When you crawl under those ropes, you are now fighting for your championship belts. The only way to keep your belt is to stop competing. Unfortunately, this is too expensive a price to pay in the game of life. Recognize also that you are still a work in progress. Insecurity gives people a false sense of perfection that they guard jealously. Any attempt to poke at this perfect picture can send their world crashing. It's not a crime to be imperfect. This is the reality. The mentality that you must get to a place where you need to improve nothing is false. Again, if a person goes under the knife to enhance a body part, such a person may convince the world that he or she actually looks that way, but in reality, it's a sham. And at some point, the confidence of such a person might be affected. Be at peace with yourself. Strive for perfection. Enjoy the route to perfection, and when you get there, set another goal and continue on your journey. How about one of the silent killers in today's world? Loneliness. A lot of people suffer from loneliness, which degenerates into depression in some cases. It's wise to say at this point that there is a difference between being alone and loneliness. As humans, even the most extroverted of us need a little peace and quiet sometimes. This is not being lonely. It's actually a healthy withdrawal from the bustle of life to regain some mental energy and vigor. Loneliness, on the other hand, is a symptom of a failure mechanism when it leads to the alienation of people from our lives. Usually, lonely people feel that they are victims, but it might not be wrong to say that chronic loneliness is an expression of selfishness. It could come across as a trait to protect yourself from hurts. However, by staying in prolonged isolation, you deprive people of sharing and benefiting from your God-given virtue or talents. What many lonely people do not realize is that they are isolated from themselves. You can only give what you have, or what you are. It is from the reservoir of their self-isolation that they now distribute among others. Loneliness seeks protection at all costs. It doesn't want to be misunderstood, criticized, or hated. This is not an advocacy of any of the things mentioned, but no one makes omelets without cracking some eggs. As social beings, we only get better and evolve when we interact with others. If you refuse to let your guard down and mingle with people once in a while, you will be stuck in the Stone Age socially. In dealing with loneliness, you might need to identify why you do not enjoy human company so much. It might stem from a number of reasons, like past trauma, lack of parental care, past hurts, disappointments, or any other problem. You must also realize that none of these problems or limitations in themselves have the capacity to limit you unless you permit them to. Learn also to consciously and intentionally take the first steps. They might be baby steps, but take them all the same. Call a neighbor over for a game. Take a walk and say something nice to the person you meet on the street. Love, care, and concern are languages that all of humanity speaks, irrespective of our race, social status, or religious affiliations. Adopt the medical principle of immunization. Immunization works by exposing the body to the actual virus you're trying to fight in a controlled form. When this happens, the body's cells sense the intruder and develop a defense system against it. This defense system eventually fights the disease if it gets into the body. Get a social shot today. Go into the crowd today. Do not wait for someone to reach out to you first. You will never fight loneliness by staying isolated. The world is busier today than it was a few years ago, and it might not slow down anytime soon. People would continue to go about their business until you break your own wall and reach out to them. Stop being too conscious of yourself. Learn to forget yourself and get temporarily lost in the world and the concerns of other people. Every day gone is a lost opportunity to befriend, uplift, encourage, and be there for someone. Stepping out of your comfort zone will not always be easy. You might feel uncertain or even foolish for reaching out, but do it all the same. However, if you want some tips on how to step out without being unsure of yourself, then be sure to stick around for our next video. Thank you for watching.